Why don't I go into specifics? This is a question I get almost every time I go into generalizations in a video, so I thought I'd explain why I do that. As for the Luigi avatar, I didn't feel like setting up my camera or doing a more elaborate video. If you want a short answer, I have a saying that sometimes someone responds better to a message if you don't point a finger directly at them. So let's say I upload a video referencing a community. If I give a generalization and someone agrees with me, it might sway their opinion or get them to change something. If I call out specific people and they feel like I'm attacking them, they might be less inclined to listen. It puts a spotlight on people when it isn't always necessary. Now, sometimes you do need to go into specifics or challenge specific claims made by specific people. When I talk about a community though, most people can name several YouTubers I may be talking about because sometimes it's an issue with more than one person. Now, this generalization method doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. The other benefit is there is less drama. If I'm not too forward about who I'm referencing, even if they disagree with me, they are less likely to respond because I'm not directly calling them out. However, I'm sure some of you would like examples of specifics, like where have I ever directly criticized someone. So let's go into a little history lesson. Some of my long-term subscribers will remember some of this stuff, but for many of you this will be new ground. When I first started Mr. Male Trope, I was mainly criticizing tropes versus women in video games. Back then I used to also do more commentary on issues such as Shirt Storm, when Hatred was pulled off Steam Greenlight, and when Grand Theft Auto 5 was pulled off store shelves in Target Australia. That kind of stuff. I don't do those sort of videos as much as I used to. On January 1st, 2015, I posted a video criticizing Gamergate. I also included criticism of gaming journalists to make it somewhat fair, but I'll be honest, it wasn't a great video. In hindsight, I could have structured some of my arguments better and come across a little more reasonable, but I was still very new to making videos back then, and as most YouTubers will tell you, their older videos sucked. It was the first time I really criticized what I'll call this side of the discussion. I saw more backlash from that video than every video I'd done combined up until that point. Even though it only amassed around 300 views, after a few days I made that video private because I could only see it getting worse as time went on. Now there is more to it than just that, but I'm going to skip out on a lot of stories to focus on the main point of this video. Back in the mid part of 2015, I had a more sizable audience. If I remember right, it was around 1,600 subscribers, and I had a few people with sizable audiences who started watching me. I made a video called Anita and the Nonsense. If I remember right, that video got several thousand views. That video had a lot of the generalizations that I like to go into, but they were specific enough that the people who I was aiming my criticism at would know what I was talking about. Videos like that would get a mixed reaction from my followers. Some people would thank me for criticizing my own side, others hated when I would do stuff like that. It was a 25-minute video that covered a lot of ground, but no one who I aimed it at responded, so whatever, I went on to making more videos. During that time frame, I had alluded that I wanted to start making videos criticizing Anita's other critics, but I put that on the back burner for a while to focus on more video reviews of tropes versus women in video games. Now fast forward a while later. At this point I was on my third YouTube channel, which you are watching right now. I made a 50-minute video where I criticized half a dozen of Anita's more notorious critics. This one was going into specifics. I didn't like the original incarnation, so I cut it down, and then again, and again, till I ended up with a 10-minute video that I called Anita Sarkeesian Critics in a Nutshell. I didn't say anything the entire video except for a few lines at the beginning. It was 10 minutes of Sarkeesian critics screaming, shouting. I pointed out hypocrisies, double standards, some stupidity, and I did this all without saying a thing. I did upload this video, and I left it up for several days. Let's just say I was testing something. It definitely got a lot of negativity, but you know who did not respond to it? The people I criticized. The video only ended up with 379 views before I made it private. But I find it pretty hard to believe none of those guys watched the video, but it's not like I can prove they did either, so I moved on. Back in August of last year, I uploaded a video called Mr. Male Trope on Anita Sarkeesian Critics, where I did cover a few of Anita's more notorious critics. This video is currently public and available on my YouTube channel, and sitting at over 1,000 views. Know how many of them have responded to it? 0. Just like with every other video I've ever made criticizing Anita critics. they never respond. At this point, some of you may be asking, have I ever tried contacting them via other means? Well, yes, I have. Whenever I tweet criticism, nothing. But can you prove they are deliberately ignoring you? Nope. They can give you any excuse in the book, including the age-old, I missed that message, or I didn't see it, which is to say, I've played this game for several years, I know how it works, and I think it's fucking stupid. Anita's critics can be rather childish. I did contact one of them in private. That one did respond to me with a bullshit answer to my question. I think a lot of the bullshitting had to do with the fact it was a private conversation. Some of these Sarkeesian critics are some pretty hefty bullshitters, so private conversations don't work. Now, there was one time, and only one time, that I got one of these guys into a debate on Twitter. I had to call them out in front of other people to sort of force them into a discussion. After several exchanges and lots of disagreement, I got them to concede a point. During this discussion, there was a lot of mental gymnastics I had to cut through. This was one time, and this one exchange did a lot to kill my interest in conversation with Sarkeesian critics. In a bizarre sort of way, when you start going after Anita's other critics, you start understanding why Anita doesn't want to deal with them. I've watched a lot of these guys get into debates with other people over the years, and the amount of mental gymnastics these guys pull is unfucking believable. So at this point, I've made videos on them, contacted them publicly and privately. The only thing I haven't done is harass them into a response. By this I mean sending them 20 to 50 tweets hounding them for a response. Know why I don't do that? I'm not a fan of harassing people into a response. I may say whatever I want about them publicly, but I won't directly harass them for the same reason I don't harass Anita Sarkeesian for a response. If they don't want to respond to me, I'm not going to force the issue. In all the years I've done this, I've never had anyone directly respond to criticism I've made of them. Isn't the marketplace of ideas wonderful when people at the top can simply ignore you? Well, this video turned into more of a story than I had intended, but to answer the question of why I don't go into specifics, I actually have in the past. I generally get ignored. When I do get a response, it's either mental gymnastics or someone bullshitting me. It just boils down to, I don't want to play games with grown men who'd rather act like big kids. And personally, a lot of my fight was gone when Anita announced she was ending her series and kicked Jonathan McIntosh to the curb. Losing McIntosh did a lot to kill my interest in video responses, as it was his bullshit that got me interested in her videos to begin with. With him gone, I lost my interest, hence I stopped responding to tropes versus women in video games. Outside of the occasional video, I don't participate like I used to. I just sit back and watch. Well, that's pretty much it. Have a good one, guys.